From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Honoring a fellow farmer.
It's probably the best harvest he's ever had.
How an entire community came together to show their support for one producer and his family. When will the bird flu outbreak end? The latest as case numbers continue to rise. Plus, did USDA gift the markets with a December supply-demand surprise?
So, now a little bit more bearish than expected, if you would.
Look at the numbers as we wrap up a wild year of WOTC right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Markets anxiously awaited the latest supply-demand report from USDA Friday after recent reports shocked the markets. But the biggest news coming out of the final report of the year was a change in the corn balance sheet. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us with a look at the numbers.
Clinton, USDA essentially kicked the can down the road in this report when it came to South American production numbers as well as U.S. ending stocks, with the exception being corn. U.S. soybean ending stocks were unchanged at 220 million bushels. USDA also punted on South American production. U.S. wheat ending stocks were also the same as November at 578 million bushels. And on corn, USDA made no adjustments to the South American crop. However, they did raise domestic carryout by 75 million bushels by lowering exports that same amount.
I think the trade was really aware that the USDA needed to cut corn for export, and they dropped it 75 million bushels. They just weren't sure if they were going to do it in this report. This December report is sometimes a vanilla report where the USDA kicks the can to the January numbers. January is a really big data set, but they did have enough evidence compelling to drop corn for export, and very well they should have. And ending stocks came in about 20 million bushels larger domestically for corn than what the pre-trade estimates were for the report. So, a little bit more bearish than expected, if you would.
Now, Split says he was surprised that with the dryness in Argentina that USDA chose not to make any adjustments to corn or soybean production, but they did lower Argentina wheat production by 3 million metric tons. And he is expecting some much larger revisions in many categories in the January report.
Happening right now, we're keeping watch on the potential for a severe weather outbreak in Dixie Alley. Meteorologist Andrew Whitmire joins us with an update.
And the heart of this week, we'll kind of be watching two things in the weather to start off this week. One will be a potential severe weather outbreak across parts of the Dixie Alley. We're talking Little Rock as well as Shreveport. Having to watch out for the potential here for damaging wind and even the potential here for some violent tornadoes that we'll be keeping our eyes on as we head on into Monday and right on into Tuesday of this week. Then as we head on into Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be watching a strengthening low pressure, a Colorado low here, and depending on the storm track, we could be looking at the first real major winter storm here for the northern prairie and upper portions of the Midwest here, where they could be measuring a snowfall in at least a foot or more of snow across the parts of the northern plains throughout this week. The third thing we're watching is the polar vortex. It's going to have a new position over parts of northeastern America as well as northern Europe here as we head on into mid-December, and that's going to lead with it to potentially the first cold outbreak for many for this upcoming winter season.
Yields in the Fields on AgDay is brought to you by Micro Essentials from Mosaic, the science of more. Discover our proven products. Text YIELDS to 31313.
And farmers are continuing to move the corn crop. Brian Scott of Indiana says this is the first stored corn heading out for the season. He says he saw 205 bushels to the acre for corn this year, and he's hoping it adds up to 5,900 pounds of popcorn. I'll warn your AgDay forecast in just a few.
Mexico may be changing its mind slightly when it comes to banning imports of genetically modified U.S. corn in 2024. The Mexican Secretary of Economy telling reporters the country plans to issue a decree to bar imports of GMO crops, but not until 2025. He adds the country is looking to put together a plan that will make clearer the presidential decree. He said U.S. and Mexican officials may meet later this week to discuss that new proposal. Now, earlier this month, we told you Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said after a meeting with U.S. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack that Mexico would allow imports of GMO yellow corn for animal feed over the next 2 years while the government studies any potential impacts on human health. USDA is continuing to update its bird flu tracking map as more cases continue to appear. The latest reported midweek last week at a South Dakota backyard farm. As of today, it is reporting 287 commercial flocks have been impacted by the virus nationwide, involving now more than 53 million birds. But this year, instead of the virus just dying out with the summer weather, as happened in the last outbreak of 2015, the virus continues to be reported, with the virus now confirmed in 47 states. So how much longer could we expect to see cases? Researchers say they fully expect the virus to mutate and become less virulent at some point.
But unfortunately, we don't have a clear indication of how long that might be. And certainly looking to our friends in Europe who've been dealing with this for about a year longer than we have, it doesn't appear to be going anywhere soon.
Iowa is still the hardest hit state with 20 affected commercial flocks and a total of 15.6 million birds affected in this outbreak. The House Ag Committee will have a new leader in the new year. The House Republican Steering Committee says it has elected Representative Glenn G.T. Thompson as chairman for the committee. The Republican from Pennsylvania has served on the committee for more than a decade and as a ranking member for the last 2 years. Thompson releasing a statement saying he is honored to lead the committee and said as chairman he would prioritize the needs of producers and rural communities. He said he will keep his foot on the gas to deliver a farm bill that is responsive to the needs of the country's farmers, ranchers, and foresters. Outgoing chairman, Democrat David Scott of Georgia, congratulating Thompson, saying he hoped the committee would be able to deliver a farm bill with strong Republican and Democratic bipartisan support. Well, up next, we'll take another look at Friday's Washington report, the latest from USDA's supply-demand numbers and what they mean for markets going forward. Plus, a community pitches in after an Illinois farm family finds themselves in need of help this harvest in the country. And we want to remind you to get signed up for the Case IH Holiday Giveaway. One lucky winner will be drawn each day. Next Monday through Friday, we'll announce those winners right here on Ag Day. The winner will receive a Case IH prize pack. Then the grand prize winner will be announced on U.S. Farm Report on Christmas Eve. They'll win a Farm All C pedal tractor. To enter, head to the website on your screen, caseihholidaygiveaway.com. Corn and soybeans seeing some gains after the release of the last supply-demand report of the year. What can we expect this week? Michelle Rook has more with Garrett Toy.
Welcome back to Market Analysis here on Ag Day, and we did see mixed closes on grain and livestock futures trade on Friday. Garrett Toy, Ag Trader Talk, is joining us, and of course we did have the WSDA report out on Friday, but it wasn't a big market move. We didn't have a lot of surprises in it, did we?
Not really. We got what we were expecting in November, and I think the market will be happy with that as far as a corn export cut. We had a big cut in Argentine production and wheat, but overall, I think the market got what they expected, and no changes in the bean S&Ds.
Was there anything that you saw in the report, though, that may give us a clue about what we could see in terms of any adjustments in the January report?
Well, obviously, as far as the row crops are concerned, we're looking at Argentina's drought. Brazil's weather seems to be fine. The northern 2/3 of the country is getting good rainfall. But the Argentine drought is at first and foremost because we're knocking on $15 beans and we've got meal on a substantial rally. So the interesting thing is the USDA cut Argentine yields to their lowest since 2008. And so we went to look at 2008, and I think the market's focusing at potential acreage cuts here because of the slow planting pace. But 2008, their corn yields were around 10 to 11% sub-trend, and this year the current USDA is around 4% sub-trend. So that would suggest that once we figure out where they're at on acres, that this first half of this crop could be impacted.
Yeah. So we've been putting in some South American weather premium, as you mentioned, in soybeans and meal. Will that be the focus as we start this new week, or will we watch at all what's going to happen with the Fed announcement this week or not?
I think the Fed's kind of built in here. I mean, it may create some noise, but it's largely going to be the South American weather, especially as we're knocking on the $15 door here. We're going to come in here, Monday morning, we're going to see how much rain happened over in Argentina over the weekend, and then we're going to look at this 10 to 14 day forecast there really doesn't have much moisture in it. And we'll be watching for heat. And I think we'll still be in moisture deficit situations potentially. And we're going to trade weather into the end of the year.
All right. Appreciate your analysis. Thanks so much for joining us. Garrett Toy with Ag Trader Talk. We have more Ag Day coming up.
To contact Garrett, call him at 888-745-2020 or find him at agtradertalk.com.
The NRCS Conservation Stewardship Program cost shares more than 150 practices on farms and ranches. Visit your local service center or farmers.gov today.
Meteorologist Andrew Whitmire joining us here. And Andrew, let's just talk about it openly. Something that we don't like to discuss, and that's a polar vortex maybe on its way here to the lower 48.
Yeah, we're going to start to see it wobbling back from Siberia over across the parts of northern America here, and as well as parts of northern Europe as we go on into the course here of mid-December, and that's going to lead to more cold outbreaks here as we head on into mid-December. And this polar vortex right now, at least where that pocket of really cold air has been kind of situated throughout the first half of this month, has been kind of positioned over across the far northern tip of Alaska as well as across the parts of Siberia. And as we head on into mid-December, we're going to see it kind of wobbling a little bit back along across at least the northeastern portion there of Canada, and even kind of dipping down across the parts of the northern half there, northeastern portion there of the United States, and even into northern Europe as well. And this is likely going to lead to much cooler temperatures here as we head on into mid-month of December. And you'll see it kind of already showing up here as we take a look at the temperature map for this week. Still above normal for the first few days of this upcoming week. Below average high temperatures will be expected across the parts of the western coast here. And then as we head on into next week, that cooler air kind of takes hold of much of the lower 48, and we're going to be dealing with waves at times of temperatures at or just a few degrees below average daily high temperatures. What we're watching on this Monday here for December 12th, we're going to be watching this deepening low pressure system out of Colorado. That's going to continue to lead to mountain snow out across the west, and that will give way eventually to a severe weather outbreak across parts of the Dixie Valley Monday into Tuesday. We'll have to watch for damaging wind as well as the potential there for a few long track tornadoes. And as that low pressure system continues to deepen, it will begin to track its way towards the north here, and that's going to lead with it to the first major snowstorm potentially across the northern plains and upper portions of the Midwest, where they could be looking at snowfall at least around 6 to 12 plus inches of snow. And then eventually this high pressure will come on in across the western coast there, and that will begin to clear that system out. Snowfall again has been quite heavy across the Intermountain West, which is good news for those areas that really need to have the moisture. So look around the country. Let's take a look a little bit closer to home in your Ag Day select cities. Traverse City, Michigan, a few snow showers possible, high 38 degrees. Going over to Colorado Springs, times of sun and clouds, a little bit of snow here or there, 48 degrees. And going over to California, still times of mountain snow.
CNH Industrial is ending the year with a look at the future of ag machinery, and autonomy will play a big role. The company holding its first ever Tech Day, showing off its Case IH Trident 5550 applicator with an autonomous spreader. The autonomous technology coming from Raven. Now, CNH Industrial is forecasting a 10% to 15% annual growth rate across the next 2 to 3 years, specifically due to the growth in precision ag components. The company also rolling out 3 New Holland tractors, including a first of its kind, one powered with liquefied natural gas, the T7, another with compressed natural gas, the T6, and the New Holland T4, that is a 100% electric utility tractor with autonomous features. There are plenty of options for tractors on the farm, including those high horsepower workhorses. Machinery Pete joins us with a look at how to spend $500,000 real fast.
Man, things sure do change fast these days, don't they, folks? I suppose that's the way life's always been. And I don't know about you, but I find it helpful and interesting to look back in time to see how far we've come, how fast. Now, if we talk tractors sold at auction, 20 years ago, in the year 2002, I only saw 10 tractors all year crack the $100,000 mark at auction. And the highest price all year was $143,000 on a dealer auction in Dike, Iowa, where a 2001 Case IH STX 440 quad track with 571 hours on it sold for $143,000. That was the highest 20 years ago. Zoom forward 20 years till today, 2022. Well, last 12 months, I've seen 5 tractors sold over $500,000 at auction, including 4 from mid-November to early December. The first one sold on a farm auction November 16th in Emery, South Dakota. This 2017 John Deere 9570 RX, 540 hours on it, went for $531,000 on an auction by Weeman Land and Auction. Then on a December 5th dealer auction in Larchwood, Iowa by the Steffes Group, this 2021 John Deere 9620R four-wheel drive, 908 hours on it, sold for $509,000. Same sale had this 2020 John Deere 9620 RX, 1,284 hours on it, sold for $574,000. And that was the all-time record high auction price I'd seen on a modern tractor. And folks, that record lasted all of 3 days until December 8th on an online farm auction in Imperial, Nebraska by Sullivan Auctioneers, where this 2022 Case IH Steiger 540 quad track with only 9 hours on it sold for $582,000. So yeah, we've come a long way in 20 years.
All right, thanks, Pete. Now, plenty of work getting done in Illinois thanks to the kindness of neighbors. We'll see how a community pitched in when a fellow farm family needed the most. Next in the country.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
The Illinois farming community lost someone over the summer, Darrell Cave. He passed away following a farming accident. But his friends, family, and neighbors turned the loss into action, gathering together this fall outside of Mount Morris to make sure his crops were harvested for his family. Farm Week Now talked with some of the volunteers who came to help.
Today, the neighborhood is getting together here outside of Mount Morris, Illinois to harvest part of the crop for Darrell and Joan Cave. Darrell was a good friend to all. He sat at my right hand in the Ogle County Farm Bureau boardroom for 13 years as my secretary. One of the most thoughtful, kind, and smart, gentle men you'd ever want to meet. He tragically lost his life in a farm accident this summer.
It's a tender moment because it's hard, because we know how much Darrell would have just loved every minute of this, to be here and see this harvest. It's probably the best harvest he's ever had. Sad to know that he's not here to see this, but I think he would be so grateful that all these people are taking care of Joan and the family. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
Right here in this local community, everybody's really close-knit, and if something happens or somebody needs help, you pick up the phone and call, and you know, everybody's willing to help everybody, and that's the way it's supposed to be. We're grateful to be able to be here and do what we're doing today, and just do it as an act of service.
Listening to the WGN Farm Report all those years, it was awesome to hear those stories of the farming community coming around, families. Well, we're here today to help a family. Just hits a little closer to home.
You know, everybody else has stuff going on. It's kind of nice to actually help out in circumstances. It's not a very good one, but it's always nice to help out sometime.
The first thing that comes to my mind is just love, just acts of service and love. It's just love in action. I mean, this is what we're to do, to take care of each other and to love one another. And I've just never seen anything like it. It just makes your heart just stop.
And our thanks to Farm Week Now for sharing that story with us. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.